Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Mishna Yomi, Masechet Batra, Perek Gimel, third chapter. We're in Cheskat Batim, yeah? Mishnah Hey and Vav. Okay, Mishnah Hey. Elu devarim sheyesh lahem chazaka, ve'elu devarim she'en lahem chazaka. There's going to be things which a partner in a shared courtyard can establish a chazaka, and then there's going to be certain things which he cannot establish a chazaka. Okay, so again, we're talking about a partner and certain things. So, ayam amid be'ema b'chatzer. If one of the partners are keeping an animal in the courtyard, tanur v'kilayim v'lechaim, or a tanur, right? The kira is like a stove instead of like the oven, or a rechaim is a millstone. Okay, gadel tarnegolim, or he's raising chickens. Noten urayv, noten ziv lo b'chatzer, or he's putting manure in the chatzer. En a chazakah, and all these things, even if he's doing it for 3 years, right, it's not considered a chazakah. Why? Because basically the partner can demand that these items, basically, right, since you're going to say, right, it's not a chazakah, right, because he has not established a chazakah by doing so, then the partner can demand that these items be removed. Since these, right, no, zelo kashur, right, is that he didn't make a chazakah. Since these uses, 1 second, since these uses, right, are not permanent and don't cause any structural change to the courtyard, so therefore he can continue even more than 3 years without protest. It's not that I have to protest and then say, listen, I've got a chazakah. It didn't bother me. Any day I could tell you, just take it out. So the fact that I could tell you any day to take it out, so therefore it's not a chazakah in the fact that you kept quiet. Why? Because the fact that you kept quiet does not mean that I agree that you're going to use it permanently. It could be right now, I just didn't care. So you're going to come and you're going to bring your zevel into the thing. Okay. After 2 years, after 5 years, I come and say, what are you doing? You kept quiet for 3 years. No, sorry. Because you didn't do something in the structure. It wasn't something that I had to make a mecha immediately. So therefore, it's not a chazakah. Aval, however, though, let's say he makes a mechitza, mamash, within the courtyard, right? Or for the tanur kiram lechaim, he makes a mechitza. Or he brought them in the house, right? Or he made a structure for the zevel. Well, there's going to be three, right? Tfachim, high or low. That is a chazakah. Because there, the fact that he did an action for it, there the partner should have said, why? Listen, we're partners, but don't get your personal business in here. You understand? I mean, there's only business stuff here, right? This is not something of how do you call this? Of something of personal. So again, when we're talking about, right, that a person is talking about partners. So partners, we already learned that partners do not usually have a chazakah. Why? Because he's allowed to do so. But that's only if he didn't change anything in the structure. If he changed something in the structure, so therefore, obviously, right, that's when it is going to be a good chazakah. He has to protest immediately. That was Mishnah 5. Mishnah 6 comes and he says, right, Hamarzev en lo chazakah. Right? He comes and he says, we're now talking about Hamarzev. Okay? So he comes and he says, right, like this. He comes and he says, right, Hamarzev en lo chazakah. The downspout, this is the gutter, right, that comes down. So that does not have a chazakah. What does that mean? If you put the downspout, right, putting it, and it channels the water into the neighbor's courtyard, and that was done for 3 years, it does not establish a chazakah as well. Why? He could basically tell you, you know what, move it somewhere else now, right? So basically, he's telling you to move it, right? He says, why? Since in either case, the roof owner will be able to rid his roof of the water, the precise location doesn't make a difference. Okay, and the neighbor can ask him just like, move it to another side, right? But he does then have established a chazakah for the area, right? And therefore, you cannot force him to remove it entirely. Okay, that means the second that I had that, remember that many times they used to have townhouses. So they were connected. Now we've got the roof, and let's say my roof, I put the gutter in a certain direction. So here what we're trying to say is, can I afterwards come and say, you know what, move it to a different direction? So he says, the second that you actually have, right, even the direction, it's not a chazakah, because I could tell you, just move it from one place to another. But I cannot tell you to move it completely, to remove it completely. Because once you have a chazakah that it's there, and that the water is coming down, that's fine. But I could just tell you, you know what, instead of putting it there, now it's coming down on this side of the field, right, or this side of the thing, put it on the other side, or put it here. That, yes, but that means that's what he's saying about Nimkoma Chazakah. 3 years, right? 1 second, right? So he says, Amazchila yesh la chazika. So he says the use of a gutter for 3 years is a chazakah, because the downspout was not like the gutter. We're going to see now. Okay, he says like this. He says, right? It does require a chazakah for the particular spot, right? And basically the neighbor cannot require him to move it. He says a gutter is considered permanent. And therefore, he says by allowing it to remain there for 3 years, that for sure is different than a downspout. The downspout is, for example, right? They did it here, by the way. I remember still today. The city, they have a lot of certain rules. So I know a person that what he did is that he needed like a type of like an entrance for his mother, right? For a wheelchair. So what he did he told me that if he would make something permanent, he would need permits and they have to be a certain this and a certain that. And so what did he do? He did a non-permanent structure. So it looked much cheaper, right? And it was a whatever it was, piece of wood, whatever it was. He put it up. Now, what was the purpose behind it? It's not permanent. So if anybody ever comes and tells her, yeah, but it's not a permanent structure. So now all of a sudden he gets away with it. So the same thing. The downspout, right, was basically you're going to come and you're going to take one of these movable things and you come and it's all movable. So I can move it today, I can move it here, tomorrow I can move it there. So it's not permanent. So if it's not permanent, I could tell you, listen, even though you had it 3 years in one spot, after 3 years, I could come and tell you, put it over there. Why? It wasn't permanent. So you don't have a chazakah on it. I can't tell you to completely take it down, but I could tell you, listen, move it from there to there to there. A gutter is the ones that we usually have. That mamash, they put it in the wall, right? And the water comes down and they nail it, they screw it to the wall. So therefore, such a thing that you're doing there, it's permanent. Once it's permanent, 3 years, chazakah. And therefore, I can't tell you to move it. No, it was permanent. You can't tell them to move it. Right? Sulam mitzri. We're talking about a sulam mitzri and lo chazakah. Again, this is talking about an Egyptian ladder that is going to be placed there. But if it's going to be a tzuri, it is going to be a chazakah. Again, why? Because it's permanent. The small ladder is not considered permanent. This big ladder is permanent. So it all depends. Is it kavua or lo kavua? Chalona mitzrit, right? An Egyptian window cannot make a chazakah. Okay, again, the same thing. It's an Egyptian window, is small, so therefore you can't even stick your head into the opening. So therefore, you can't really see any person.
Also in the permit in the city, if you have window foot by foot, you don't need permit.
Okay.
Foot and inch, you're done.
Okay, there you go. Same thing. Velatzurit yesho chazakah. Again, for the window, which is going to be a Tyrian window, you need a chazakah. Why? Because it's bigger. So he says the Mishnah, if you can't stick your head inside of it. Rabbi Yehuda says, if it's got a frame, even if you cannot put your head inside of it, it's going to be a chazakah. But once you have a frame, the frame is making it kavua. So the Berezo says it's kavua because yesh a frame. The frame, right? The mizgeret, זה עושה משהו קבוע. אני שואל, למה יש מזגרת? זה חלון. אפילו אם זה חלון קטן, אבל זה כבר חלון. It's called the mizgeret. So he says haziv, right? We're talking about now the ziz, which is basically a projection. It's something, משהו שכאילו, איזה יתד, שזה יוצא, right? It's something, a projection that comes out, which is a tefach, יש לו חזקה. יכול למחות, and he could be actually protest against it. פחות מטפח, if it's going to be less than a tefach, he cannot protest, ואינו יכול למחות, therefore he cannot be מוחה.